Your book, Sea Stories. You go through some of your best sea stories and share some that you've had with others. What does sea stories mean?
Yeah, you know what I hope people take away from the book. I mean, there's the story of the Bin Laden raid, and there's the story of Rescue Captain Phillips and Saddam Hussein. But what I want people to take away is the incredible men and women that I worked with. These are stories seen through my eyes, but I hope they are about the people that really ran the mission, that really deserve the credit, and that's really what I hope people take away from the book.
Your boyhood in this book, Sea Stories, Admiral, you were bad.
Rambunctious.
Well, you snuck into a nuclear site and they were saying, we're going to open fire on you. And you're like, no, they won't. I'm like, oh my gosh. Do you look back at some of these things and think, there, but for the grace of God, did I join the military because someone set me straight?
Well, so that's one of the first stories in the book. And it's really about my childhood and the point I'm trying to make in the story. So we thought it'd be kind of cool to scale these fences. Well, of course, in the scaling of the fences, the cops come running after us, and I was carrying my Roy Rogers pearl handle cap gun. Well, as I'm scurrying over the fence to get back, my Roy Rogers pistol falls out. And we get back and everything kind of calms down. I'm thinking, okay, we got through this one. Well, a couple days later, I come home, and my father, who was an Air Force officer, comes up to me and says, Bill, I was told a couple of kids tried to break into the ammo depot. He said, do you know anything about that? And as I say in the book, it's the first and last time I ever lied to my father. And I said, no, sir. And he said, okay. So I go to bed that night, take my shower, I hop in bed, and there on my nightstand is my Roy Rogers pearl handle pistol. 53 years later, I still remember that story because my dad never raised the issue again. Mm-hmm. We never talked about it, but it lingered with me for 53 years. And I never lied to my father after that.
You talk about going on these excursions like President George H.W. Bush asked you to lead this mission to recover a crashed military plane from decades before in Alaska. Nobody else had been able to find it. And you were there. Your team was exhausted. They were hungry. They were freezing cold. And yet you found it. And then these people's families, their children, they suddenly had a loved one they could bury. And it brought home to me the fact that on every side there are people involved in these things that otherwise you think military.
People have this mythology about SEALs. We're not mythological, we are husbands and fathers and sons and brothers. We make mistakes, we do the best we can, but sometimes we fall short. But there is also a humanity to it.
Capturing Saddam Hussein, you were involved in overseeing that, and so many times people got their hopes up it didn't happen. Yeah. But you described the night that it did happen. You were headed in a plane somewhere else. You said, turn this around, we have to go back. It's happening tonight. No one told you it was happening tonight. You just got this feeling.
We had all sorts of leads on Saddam, and they never panned out. And every night the guys would go kind of looking for Saddam, and it never panned out. And then we finally had one lead, and to your point, I had actually left Iraq, heading to go down to Qatar. And I had talked the night before with one of the intelligence non-commissioned officers, and all of a sudden I got on that plane, and you talk about this kind of intuition, and I thought, it's tonight. I can't tell you why I thought that. Back to why is it a sea story? It's what I felt, it's what I believed. There was, part of this was experience. When I started playing it over in my mind, I thought, maybe the non-commissioned officer's right. But also there was just this feeling. So, I pulled my aide aside and I said, Hank, we got to turn the plane around. I pulled back into the Joint Operations Center just, half an hour or so before all of a sudden I get the call from the ground commander that says, jackpot. Jackpot was the code word for we got him. And of course, all of a sudden you're like, did we really capture Saddam Hussein? Mm-hmm. So I waited till he got back to his little base, and he called me back up, and I said, okay, I'm about to call General Abizaid, General McChrystal. We're about to announce that we've got him. How sure are you? And he goes, I'm about 98% certain. And I hear one of his operators in the background going, BS, it's 100%. And he laughs and he goes, sorry, it's him. And so we brought him down, and then I held on to him for about the next 30 days. And when we first got him, he was arrogant, he was pompous. As far as he was concerned, he was still kind of the president of Iraq, even though everything was crumbling around him. But as the days went on, he really just became a pathetic, evil old man. And he just, because he didn't have his palaces, he didn't have his handmaidens, he didn't have his generals, and the true character of the man came out.
When it comes to Saddam Hussein or the crashed airplane, you just knew you were going to find this. Is that gut? Is it God? What is it for you?
It's a good question, and I'm not sure I have the answer. I can tell you there were a number of times in my career and in my life where, I could tell you that somehow I think the hand of God came down and saved me. I was in a number of kind of near-death experiences, a parachute accident, a boat accident, a helicopter crash, and frankly, dozens of other times where in a split second, I went one way instead of the other, and it saved me from kind of catastrophe. And you believe after a while, and particularly when you're writing a book about your life and you see it in total, and you say, how did I get to here? And you see the changes that allowed you to get there, I feel there's a hand at play. In terms of the intuition, I think a lot of that is experience. The more you experience, the more inputs you take, and the different your decision process is relative to somebody who doesn't have that experience.
Final question. What is the first meal you always ate when you walked off that ship, when you got home?
Yeah. Can I say that on hamburgers and fries?
McDonald's?
Yeah, it was. Can I say one more thing while I got you here, though? Because I want your audience to know, one, I'm the biggest fan of the millennials you'll ever meet. And I make a point of saying this because it's important to be heard. This whole narrative about the fact that the millennials are soft and entitled and pampered, I'm quick to tell people, then you've never seen them in a firefight in Afghanistan or Iraq. You've never seen them trying to change their life by going to school in the Rio Grande Valley or East Texas or West Texas to change their life and the lives of their families. Or you've never seen them as a first responder or working on, Teach for America. And anytime people start to get a little concerned about the future of this country, I said, we're going to be just fine. All you have to do is spend some time with these young kids and you'll realize we're in good hands.